Good morning. So today we're starting with an assembly, and this was brought on. It has to do with our entire year of what we're doing in Clinton High School. SEL. Does anybody know what SEL is? It's called Social Emotional Learning. It means that with people, there's more than just an education. It's about who you are, and if you feel good about yourself, and if you're doing the right things, it's easier to learn every day than if you come in and you're tired or if you had a bad day. So part of this is called the Sandy Hook Promise. And with this, we're going to do, today we do start with hello. After a lot of things that have been on the news and things that are happening, I want to reach out to you guys, students, and just make sure that all you guys have somebody that you can go to. If there's a day you're having where you need to talk to somebody, you know, this is a rhetorical question, but ask yourself, is there somebody in Clinton High School that I can talk to? For me, on any given day, I can strangle Johansi. That's just what I do, right? And the seniors know this. So, we're looking to make connections and form relationships. So, today we're going to start with Mr. Terrence White from the Sandy Hook Promise.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Let's try it again. I know it's a little early. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I am very excited to be in front of you all and to share this message that I believe is really important for all of us. Again, just kind of going off of what you guys are already establishing here on campus, it is important to lean into these things that are social and emotional learning. These things that are sometimes kind of glanced over, but are really, really important in terms of the health of our community. So again, my name is Terrence White. I represent an organization called Sandy Hook Promise. But before I get into the actual reason why I'm here and the history, I first just want to start off by saying that I know that I'll be addressing and talk about some things that are sometimes troublesome, sometimes even triggering for certain people. If at any moment you feel uncomfortable, you feel like you need to maybe excuse yourself, feel free to do so. Take care of yourself, emotional, mental. Make sure that you are putting yourself as priority number one. I want to make sure I say that just to let you know that this is a safe space. So if you happen to leave and you need to address whatever you need to address, a faculty member will make sure you're taken care of, and hopefully you can rejoin us. It's not to say that I'll be talking about or harboring on anything that's really, really tough, but it is important just to make sure that we all take this opportunity to take care of ourselves, and that we also bring our best and most mature selves to this conversation. Today we'll be discussing what it means to actually build a healthier, a stronger community, and one that's more connected. Sandy Hook Promise started because of what Sandy Hook Elementary experienced back in 2012. Just a show of hands, who here has heard or is familiar with Sandy Hook Elementary story? Most people, okay, so for those that aren't, back in 2012, an individual entered this elementary school and took the lives of 26 people. 6 were educators, 20 were first graders. And after that tragedy, several of the parents that were directly impacted started to speak up, letting the community know that we all share a responsibility. That responsibility is to create, to cultivate, to build that community where we feel connected and closer to those around us. When we're able to do this, maybe we can actually prevent some of these experiences like what happened at Sandy Hook Elementary and all over America as well as the globe. These things that we often suffer from as humanity, we can start to address them, but we have to be proactive in doing so. I want you guys to take a moment to think about maybe a time where you experienced some of these same emotions. Maybe you felt invisible, isolated, ignored. These universal feelings, emotions that we all go through. Unfortunately, it's a part of life. We have to make sure that we recognize these things in ourselves as well as in one another. This is what makes us human. The reality is, you will not pass anyone on planet Earth that has not suffered, that has not struggled in one form or another. Every person, it says millions, but billions around this world go through a lot of these same similar feelings. Sometimes we forget that we've experienced that. Sometimes we become part of the problem. Sometimes we see other people suffering and we may laugh, we may joke, we may even ridicule. In those moments, I ask you to think to yourself, what if that was me? What if I felt isolated? Because the reality is, have been before. I've been in a new place. I felt uncomfortable in my own skin. This is things that we all go through. If we were to recognize that fact, we can begin to address some of these issues that are really affecting us. When people feel isolated, when they feel lonely, they begin to lash out, sometimes in ways that are unhealthy for themselves as well as the community. When people maybe start to bully or lash out in a violent way, maybe that sadness evolves, turns into depression. At that moment, instead of pushing that person further away by talking about them or labeling them, making them feel as an outcast, this is our opportunity. This is our chance to do something. When we notice people pulling away, are having difficulties, or struggling with their development, thinking about harming themselves or someone in their community, we have to, at that point, use it as an opportunity to actually see them as a human being and decide to engage them, decide to get them the help that they deserve. Because again, we have all been there. Together, we have to build connectedness. No one can do that for us. Each and every one of us, we all play a role. In order for us to create and continue to build this community, we have to be proactive. Again, 3 simple steps to make this idea of starting with hello a little bit more practical so we can say, okay, what can we actually do to address these issues? The first step is to see someone alone. I always explain this as just seeing people for who they are, where they are at that given moment in time. Second step, maybe you want to reach out. You want to connect with them. And maybe that reach out comes in the form of a simple hello. And this idea of just engaging the world around you is building the health of your community. Let's talk about the first one. So seeing someone alone. Again, seeing someone for who they are, where they are. Reminding yourself of their humanity as well as your own. What it means to be human. And the fact that we all go through things. Maybe you notice that somebody prefers to be by themselves, or they keep to themselves. Or maybe they feel anxiety in social gatherings, whether it's a group of 500 or a group of 5. Maybe they feel purposely left out by their peers, their friends, or they feel pretty removed. They're not as present in the moment. When people are exhibiting these signs, these signals, maybe it's to let us know that they're going through something, that it's something else that's bothering them. Just a show of hands, how many have been in the room before with the crying baby before? Know what it's like? Most of us, right? So when a baby cries, I'll tell you guys a short story, right? My little cousin, my baby cousin, when I was in middle school, a little younger than you all, my mom, it was only just me, my mom, and my sister. I was the youngest, so I always wanted to be a big brother. I always wanted to have a little sibling. And my cousin, she had my little cousin, and he was so adorable. I was really happy when he came home. My mom would watch him a lot. She would babysit all the time. And it was really cool because it felt like I had a little brother. But the thing about my little cousin, he would cry and cry and cry and cry. I mean, he would hit these really high-pitched notes too, where you just like, what is going on with this baby? What does he need? Is he hungry? Does he need to be burped, rocked to sleep? Whatever it is, it's like, Mom, what does he need? Let's make sure we get it for him. Because he's a baby, he doesn't have the words yet to describe what he's actually experiencing, but he does signal to those people that are in the house, those people that are there to take care of him. He cries aloud. And us that hear that, we're going to make sure we come to his aid. Because the babies, they don't have those words, just like we all start off as babies. Young people, faculty, everybody alike. We all start off as infants, and we grow up, we get older. But it doesn't mean that we don't stop going through things. It doesn't mean that we don't experience distress. Our moments where we need a little extra support, we may not have the words, even as we get older, to say exactly what we are going through, what we're experiencing, and exactly what we need to get out of that unpleasant experience. But we signal. We cry aloud in different ways. It might not be tears flowing down our face, or it might not be yelling, but it could be one of these. Maybe somebody feels alone, or they purposely exclude themselves because of something they're experiencing at home, something that's bothering them, preventing them from focusing on the work. Instead of judging that person, pushing them away, talking about them, forgetting that we all have moments where we're in need, where we might be in distress, that's our moment. We have to remind ourselves that we all go through things. There's been times where I've been unable to focus because of what was happening at home, because maybe I had a bad day, or what I experienced on the walk to school. There's so many different elements in life that affect us all. If we can remind ourselves that we all go through these things, we can begin to address some of these issues where everybody doesn't feel like they're living in their own bubble. Where can these young people, these human beings, be found that are maybe suffering silently? It's not just in the classroom. It's not just on the bus or lunchroom. Social media is a primary example. It's a place where a lot of our lives intersect. How many have a social media platform? Let me just take a quick poll. How many have Instagram? Okay, all right. What about Twitter? All right, numbers going down. What about Facebook? Ooh, okay, all right. Snapchat? That's where the numbers are. All right, so my very first social media platform, I talk about it often. How many remember MySpace? Anybody remember MySpace? I don't know why y'all laugh when I say MySpace. Does that show my age? I'm not that much older than you are, but MySpace, while you all are laughing, MySpace was really cool. It was really dope because it was before all of the other social medias, and when I first got on MySpace, I was maybe again about 8th grade, my sister introduced me, and I thought it was the coolest thing because there were so many different features to MySpace. You could change your background. I changed my background every single day. I would always change my profile pic. You could put music on your page. I'm from LA, so I always had some type of like California music playing on my page. I thought it was the coolest thing. You click someone's profile, and music plays. It's like walking into someone's living room or something. It was so personal. I thought it was cool. I was so kind of infatuated with all of the features of MySpace that I would forget to sometimes even check in on those people that I considered my friends. Those people on my timeline. Because throughout some of those selfies or funny videos or relatable quotes, there'll be people posting and expressing that they feel isolated, that they feel alone on these platforms. In many different ways, they'll be crying out. And I thought about how many times I would see those things and continue to scroll right past it. I thought about how many times in real life I will walk in the hallways trying to do everything I can to avoid eye contact. If I don't look at them, maybe I don't have to interact with them. If I shift my gaze this way or find somebody else that I know, maybe have a familiar connection with, somebody further down the hall, I can focus on that instead of maybe passing this person that I'm not so familiar with and maybe having an awkward encounter. So many different things that prevented me from just reaching out, from connecting with the world around me. I stayed in my own bubble and I thought about how I was part of the problem. Maybe I didn't ridicule people, maybe I didn't push people away, but I know just as those other people wanted to be connected with, I also desired connection as well. If you're like me, and at that point where you say, all right, enough is enough, I actually want to kind of become a more well-rounded individual. I want to reach out. I want to connect with the world around me. At that moment, when you decide to do that, a lot of times that's when the doubts enter your mind. You think about all the things that could go wrong. Well, what do I say? Won't they think I'm strange just randomly walking up to them? Do they really want to talk to me? I mean, I'm not the most popular, the most social. What do I have to say that's going to maybe change their day or the trajectory of their life? Why me? There's so many doubts that enter our minds that make it difficult for us to connect. This is the participation part. I want to know from you guys, what makes it difficult at this point in your life to connect with the world around you? Yes? Judgment, absolutely. Judgment. Anybody else? Yes? That's a big one. Yeah. Find it difficult to just initiate the conversation. Absolutely. Yes?
Social anxiety.
Big one. I didn't even have words when I was at that point in where you guys are right now. I didn't even know what social anxiety was. But I'm sure I was experiencing it. Absolutely. Anybody else? In the back. Overthinking. Yes. I saw a hand over here. Rejection. That's a big one. You know, if we spend more time on this, we could come up with a number of it. The list could go on and on. But the good news is, why I'm here and why we're all gathered, is that we can share different things, implement certain things in our life to make that transition or maybe that introduction period a little bit easier for us. Maybe we just sit with somebody if they feel alone or even if they don't. We share our energy. This is a generation, we talk about vibes, we talk about energy all the time. These things that are unseen but are felt, that are very real in this world. The idea of you entering a room and your presence being felt, and when you leave that hole or that void where your presence was is also felt. Using our energy as a tool to shape the health of the community around us. What an idea. I'll tell you guys another short story. One of my fraternity brothers, I remember I found out that he was going through a tough time, that his family was actually experiencing a loss. They were really dealing with a really difficult moment. And when I found out, I called him and he expressed that to me. And this is one of the people in my life where I look up to. He's younger than me, but he's one of the most confident people I know. So I know if something's like rocking him, it's really big. He's the type of person, when I look on Instagram and I go to his story, I feel encouraged, I feel inspired just because of the way he lives his life, right? So he's that kind of person. So when I talked to him and I could tell that he was in a difficult place, a really hard place to be. I wanted to be there for him. So when I got in town, I went over to his place and we just hung out. We played video games all night long, all the way until the sun came up. And what was cool about it, it didn't matter what kind of video game we were playing. It wasn't about the video game. It was actually about somebody in his community saw that he was in a place where he needed some support, where he needed a little bit of extra push, a little bit of extra care, and that person decided to reach out, to spend some time with them, and for him, just that energy is therapeutic. It's the start of a healing process. We talk about vibes, we talk about these things, but what about using it as a tool to build someone else up? It's not just about absorbing the energy around you. It's about putting something out in the world that can be useful, that can actually bring somebody some type of encouragement. So maybe it's not sharing your energy with somebody who's going through a tough time or sitting with somebody who's alone. Maybe you can leave a handwritten note. The idea that we can write something, words down, and actually make a difference for somebody. This kind of ancient practice we don't do anymore. We'll send a text, a tweet, an email, but imagine writing a note and then making an impact, or giving a simple gesture when you see someone. Instead of being like me when you see someone in the hallway and trying to avoid eye contact, maybe you actually look at people in their eyes on purpose. You actually give them a warm smile. You maybe a head nod, a wave, some kind of gesture to let them know that you see them. You recognize them as part of your community. As individuals, we can do a lot. This list is just 5 things, but there's so many things that we can add as individuals, but even as a school, there's many things that we can do. No One Eats Alone Day is one of my personal favorites. How many like food in here? How many enjoy food, right? As soon as we say food, people start smiling, hands went up real fast. It was the idea of food, it just automatically, it brings about a reaction in us. I'm really excited. I only had a banana for breakfast, so I can't wait to lunch. So the idea of food is just like, it's exciting. But imagine if we include the world, we actually include our community. What if we have a big experience where everybody's in the same space, the whole school gathered like we are now? A huge potluck, or maybe the school provides a non-traditional lunch and we all sit and we break bread and we actually dialogue. There's so much to discover over the course of a conversation, over the course of a meal. Taking these things, using it, creating these opportunities to connect, or even a mixed grade social is one of my favorites. Connecting with those classes that are around you, even those other schools. Saying, hey, what challenges did you find when you entered as a 9th grader? How did you overcome those things? What schools are you applying to? I'm a junior right now, and I understand that we're on the same career path. How'd you choose these schools? Using these things as opportunities, share information, insight, perspective. Maybe you have a get to know me or a hey day, everybody wearing name tags. Where every time you see someone, you say hello, and you also greet them with their name. Maybe one week it starts, hey, hello, Terrence. Next week is, what's up, T? Maybe after that it's, you skip the whole introduction and it's just, man, how was the game last week? Did you see it? Or you talk about whatever commonality, whatever things that you guys find to talk about, whatever that is. It starts off with a simple hello. And then relationships are formed. Bonds are built. Starting with hello is the last, but really the first step. and actually, I feel like changing and shaping the world around you by engaging it. Maybe you say hi. Maybe you say hello. But you find a way to greet somebody that's authentic to who you are. You ask them a question. Use an icebreaker, but you make it about them. Ask why, and by doing so, you validate that individual. When people feel validated in an authentic way, they know that they're a part of that community. Validation just doesn't come from a simple like or a comment under a picture. Validation comes from spending time with people face to face and actually saying you're worth me investing my time, me investing my energy, and vice versa. That's how we validate one another, actually listening to people and sharing your own perspectives. 8 out of 10 people are hesitant to start a conversation, yet 8 out of 10 are happy that they did. Maybe you're a part of that too, and you don't feel any hesitation when it comes to interacting with the world around you, but maybe you're like me and most people, and you're part of that 8, and you find it difficult. You have moments of hesitation, of doubt, and fear starts to set in. You think about all the things that could go wrong, but I encourage you, just like that 8 that felt that hesitation, once they got over that hump, those fears and doubts, they found that there is so much to gain on the other side of that hello. Sometimes we think it's really risky. Sometimes we think, if I put myself in this vulnerable situation, I could be left out here to dry, made fun of, my emotions shattered, all of these things that we think about. I encourage you, once you get past those fears, you find out there's so much, it's so rich on the other side of that hello. Maybe you ask that person about who they are. Do they have a nickname? Or when did they come to town? I'm from LA, so anytime someone asks me, I'm always giving them a story. Maybe you ask questions that bring about stories out of people. Maybe you talk about some things that you might see at a job interview one day. Hey, if you were an animal, what animal best represents your personality? Or maybe if you had superpowers, what superpowers would you have? Maybe you can talk about your favorites. Again, favorite food. It's one of my favorite topics. Or maybe you can talk about holidays. Christmas is coming up. I cannot wait. Maybe you can talk about books, movies, video games. You can even go into would you rathers. Simple activity. Would you rather live in a city or the country? Would you rather drive a gas or electric car? Maybe you talk about where you've been, your shoes, where your feet have literally traveled. First time I ever traveled and left America. Another short, very, very brief short story. I'm almost done. I went to London. I was 20, maybe 21 years old. I left Atlanta after leaving LA. And so when I found myself in London, studying abroad for the summer, I was excited, but I also felt very alone. I didn't really know how to connect with people. I was the only black male in my program. There was over 200 people. And in that moment, I kind of felt also underrepresented, which made me feel even more alienated. The idea that everybody knew my name, but nobody knew me. It was difficult, really, to find my place. And so I found that I would lean into things that made me feel comfortable. I would travel a little bit more. I went to this place called Stonehenge. How many heard of Stonehenge in here? So I found myself in Stonehenge. And I'm a history buff. I love history. So I'm at this place that I would read about in books growing up and documentaries. I'm like, wow, I'm at this historic site. It's full of so much mystery. I'm taking pictures of it, but in that moment, I also feel bittersweet because I don't have anyone to share it with. I'm looking around, and I'm there with other people, but feeling very, very much alone. And I remember I had the camera pointed down at my feet, and the grass was really nice. I'll never forget. It was really, really nice groomed grass, and I was like, who takes care of this grass? It's nothing but like hillside, but the grass is so beautiful. And I remember just looking at it, and I saw my shoes, and I took a picture of the grass and the shoes that I was wearing at the time. And then I just posted that picture on Facebook. And my family in LA, my friends in Atlanta started to reply and respond and say whatever their experiences was about Europe or Stonehenge. One of my friends was like, man, that's crazy, you're at Stonehenge? I haven't been back to Europe since I was 3 months. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, yeah, remember, my dad was in the military. I was born in Europe. Then I came down south. And I was like, wow, I'm finding out new things about my friends and family members by just sharing about a little bit where I was, where my feet had gone. Maybe it's not about going overseas and experience some historic landmark, or maybe it's about First time you left the state? Or your favorite place in your own backyard? Your favorite hiking trail? Your favorite park? Favorite place to just hang out by the water? As I was driving up, there's so much beautiful water. A lot of it's frozen now, but it's kind of really amazing. Hey, this is where I can hang out, and maybe you bring a friend. Maybe you actually talk about a class trip somewhere outside of the school grounds where you guys can just build and cultivate relationships, friendships, bonds. It's important that we use and find each and every opportunity to connect with one another. Again, those handwritten notes, something so simple, yet so powerful. Imagine leaving your mom, teacher, hey, Dad, thank you for always showing up at my games. I know you work a lot of hours. Or Miss Smith, or Mr. Lewis, I know it's tough. It's been a crazy semester, but I'm starting to get it. I appreciate your investment. That person that gets that note, they open that and they feel validated because they see that what they're investing into you, you are not only receiving, but you recognize it. Now that you recognize it, you're also showing that back to them. Using these small little things to shape the world around us is really, really powerful. Why should you start with hello? It's not just about the community that I've been speaking about. That's inclusive, that's connected. Also is friendships. Maybe you start off as strangers. Right now you could be sitting next to someone that you consider a strong friend. At some point, you didn't know each other, but there was an introduction period. No matter how smooth or awkward it was, it happened. And because of that, there's a bond long after. Maybe it's to make a difference in somebody's day. Maybe it's to get someone help. But whatever reason or whatever result that comes from starting with hello, we have to understand we must be proactive in doing so. The proof that it works, maybe one day you might be able to say, I got my friend help. I became a better person. Maybe I found where I belong, made somebody feel valued. Maybe I saved a life. There's so many results, so many achievements that could come from just starting with hello. But again, we cannot be reactive as a community. We can't wait until a tragedy occurs, like a Sandy Hook Elementary, to say, what can we do better? We can't say now we have to redefine how we engage one another. Now we have to figure out how the community can come together. We must do that now, each and every day. We cannot be reactive as a community. We must be proactive in shaping the world around us. So continue the conversation. Talk to your parents, your peers. Say, what can we do? Mom, Dad, how can we build inclusion in our household as well as on school grounds? If it's starting a Save Promise Club, whatever that is, use it as an opportunity to say, what can we do to remind us all how to treat one another? If it's building posters, creating announcements, videos, these are things to help with the atmosphere that you guys have already established. Take the time to see people and remind yourself of your humanity as well as theirs. Decide to engage one another and find a way to start with hello that's authentic to who you are as an individual as well as a school. Thank you all. That's the end of my presentation and this assembly, so to speak. Please give yourselves a round of applause for sticking through and giving Thank you all so much. Are there any comments or questions before I hand this over? Any thoughts, comments, or questions on the presentation before I hand this over? Yes. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. Okay, well, I appreciate you all again. Have a great rest of your day.
Okay, that was a Sandy Hook Promise, and it's something we're going to be doing over the next year. So this will be something we implement. I know we really haven't had advisory days yet, but we're going to include those and start to do things with the Sandy Hook Promise. Thank you very much, Terrence, for doing the presentation today. Great job. Something to add to this. Well, you were talking about stories. I was thinking of something. I was listening, of course, but thinking to myself, this is a rhetorical question. I just want you to listen for 1 minute. Have you ever woken up late and you're trying to get ready as fast as you can, and you try to get in the shower and the water's cold, and you go downstairs, you drop something, a glass breaks on the floor, you're trying to get to school, you're late to school, and somebody looks at you and is like, where were you? You're like, oh. That never happens, right? Right, yeah. So think about this. When you see that person, whether it be your friend, somebody you know, somebody you don't know, and they have that look on their face, even, believe it or not, I know some of you think this, your teachers do not sleep here. They actually go home at night, they have lives. But this happens to them, never happened to me. But this happens to them too. They wake up late. They drop something on the floor. The dog did something they shouldn't have done on the floor. You gotta clean that up. It's a terrible morning. Then you get here, and somebody's like, dude, can you believe it? Yeah, I can. Look at your teacher and read their face. Maybe just say hello. Maybe that's all they need too. I want to thank you guys. Did a great job today, as always, Clinton High School. Well done. Thank you.